There we go.
Here we are on Wapanua Wednesday, where I
Oh,
have,
yeah.
yes, with the beautiful Andrea here. I'm Marion, and we're going to talk today about leadership because in the conversations we've been having, if you've been watching the weeks that we've been having our little posts in this group, you will see that we've been talking to different tenants to running a business. And one of the things that you need to look at when you're running a business is becoming the leader that perhaps you never dreamed you could be, and the type of mindset that you absolutely need to adopt when this happens. And it sort of springs up on you because I think when I first was talking to you, Andrea, about leadership, you probably had an idea at that time what you thought leadership was. And then as you started to go on your journey, then something totally different opened up and you're having to see yourself in a whole new light. So tell me a little bit about, leadership for you, what has been the journey for you and what have you discovered?
I've discovered that leadership that I'm living today is totally different to a leadership I have lived 20 years ago. And, just taking out what happened in between. But 20 years ago, I was a project manager for landscape design, and I had project teams up to 17 people, so quite a lot. And I dealt with millions of dollars. So just as a small background, but very, very, very different to today. And I actually thought about the possibility of my leadership now. I've spent quite a lot of time on that to create what I really want to create. And one of the big things for me, the values around my leadership. So, we can talk about them a little bit. So one of them is authenticity. And funnily enough, all those blocks are very different to the experience I made 20 years ago. So to be yourself, to be authentic, was certainly not something I was encouraged to. I had to play a role. I think that's what business used to be. You had to play a role. You had to be there to serve, or not even to serve, but to work for somebody else, for somebody else's ideal. And yes, you got paid for it. And yes, you probably had some fun. I had some fun in between. But I was paid to play a role of the, and now I probably will break my tongue to say that, of an you see, I can't even say it.
Yes. Authoritarian, yes.
Authoritaire.
Yeah.
Is that the word? I think
Yes.
it is. And I did that very well. And I think personally in my life, it suited me as well because I had just finished uni. I was 23. I was a woman and I worked in the construction industry. So, to have that little bit of power was actually, it felt really good. But at the end, it didn't really serve me. And I think now when we talk about what is different, what's different in business and what's different to lead a business, one of the really big key things is to be just being me, nobody else. I don't play any roles and I'm just fully, authentically real me. Would you agree with that? Is that important to you?
Oh, absolutely. You're being authentic. And we're from the age where, as you said before, it wasn't cool to be authentic. You had to act and be this thing. And I look at the politicians on telly, just as an analogy, and I always say, they all talk the same. Have they gone to the same school or something? And that's the sort of background that I came into, is you had to act this way. You weren't allowed to be authentic. And so this whole idea of being fully expressed and vulnerable and still be in your leadership was very new for me.
Yeah. But do you know what? I would love to hear your opinion about loyalty. I will give you my blurb later. I will just throw the word loyalty towards you. It is one of my business values. But what do you think about loyalty?
In loyalty in business is really, it's that whoever you're working with, you're on the same page, and that they have your back or you have their back. So it's where we're walking forward together instead of separately. And I know the type of person that you are. And so therefore, I know how best to serve you. I know what your thinking is like, as an example. And I can then trust that you will be, for instance, loyal to me. So it's really having somebody for me that's looking after your back, and you're also looking after them. So what's loyalty for you?
I'll tell you a little backstory. When I worked just after I finished uni, that was just a brief time after the German unification. So in the team that I was working was a pure East German company. And then we had the first West German person or colleague coming. And it was this bit of, it was just weird, right? Because we all had certain expectations and hesitations and whatever. But he told me a story that I initially really, really liked. He talked about a company that he worked for before. And he said, you know, we had the word "we" just above the entrance door. So the moment you step into the building, you identified yourself with that company. And that's just a short version of it. And I personally really, really like that. I have always adopted the whoever I work for, I still today say we, even if I'm not there anymore. So to a certain point, and for me that was, you know, I'm adopting the values and their vision and their mission and all of that. But then I worked out that was a one-sided thing. Not all the time, but quite often, even to the point, I think I've told you that before, that I was told I don't get paid to think and to have an opinion. And I still held the company up there and I still talked about we. But it came to a point that I found myself being loyal towards the company, but there was no coming back towards me. And that I was loyal, but I gave up myself. I gave up the me. So there is a little bit of twist in the word loyalty. I love to be loyal, and you know, especially when we talk about leadership, the biggest thing for me as a leader is I really, really want people that work with me to succeed, and I will do anything and everything to do that.
Yeah.
And I will have their back, as you say. But I know that this is part of me. I don't have to be somebody else. I don't have to pretend to be somebody else. It is part of it. So there is a funny thing with loyalty. It's great if it's both ways, but if it's only one-sided, it's not working.
No, exactly. I could tell you stories like that too, where they convince you it's a we, but it's not a we, it's us and you. So yeah, and even on your loyalty, even on your leadership journey, because you know we go in different areas of our journey, and we get to a point where we think, oh, okay, I can't stretch anymore as a leader. I feel like I'm already there, and then the next thing you get pushed through the next level of your leadership. So, and that's what I'm watching you now. You've had your leadership, you probably put it aside in some way. I mean, you obviously, as a single parent, you're leading your family. However, now you're asked to now reignite yourself, bring yourself into the world, and then step into your next level of leadership. And how has that been for you?
It has been a whirlwind, but a really good one. I'm just coming because of the things that happened that I know I am a mentor again, right? I do have people that you know, not necessarily look up to me, but working with me, let's say it that way, working with me. And it has just hit me that I suddenly have a responsibility again. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm so grateful for people trusting me. but I'm also, the person that I am. I'm freaking out about it because I want this to be perfect. Yeah. um, but it is so exciting, because at the end, what I want is that other people succeed, me as well, obviously. But all of this is only working if I work. If I, as a person, and that's why this is so new, and it is massive for me, and it has been since I started this journey. All of this can only work when I have all my business values all, ticking like a. If I say like a clockwork, it's probably not right because there is no perfect thing out there. But if we talk about leadership, if we talk about different mindset, authenticity, vulnerability, loyalty, transparency, honesty and truth, all of that is only serving me and whoever wants to work with me if I am being me and if everyone else is also just being them. Otherwise it doesn't work. It doesn't.
So part of that is also communication is in really good leadership, because not only do you have your values, but when you're also stepping in and working with other people, you have to, they've got their values and somehow they've got to blend together, and we've got to have a conversation about that. So we work together in leadership individually, but together in our leadership, so that it's cohesive and harmonious, and recognizing that everybody's got a little bit of difference. I'll tell you a little story, because I know you've been telling some stories. I'll tell you a little story. One of the things, when I hold a certain level of leadership outside this group, although I didn't want to actually own it at all. And it wasn't until one of my other friends kept saying to me, and I know you have too also, oh my gosh, I see you, you're already holding that. And I remember saying to my dear friend Aurora, who's in this group, it's no, I don't want to be in a level of leadership because I don't want to take responsibility, because, and then, of course, you have the story on why. And in my mind was, to be in a position of great leadership, to step up into another level of leadership, there was then also another huge level of responsibility on top of that. And I just thought, I don't want that. I'm happy to do this, but I don't want to feel like I'm weighed down also with the responsibility. And that can only be on the back of some previous mindset. Yeah. So what sort of mindset did you have to shift for you? For me, it was just accepting, no, it's not like that. I've just made it that. So what was probably one of the biggest mindsets shifts that you had to have?
That I need to know everything, that it needs to be perfect, and that I have to have everything together.
Yes.
And I'm still learning that, because that's also, I don't know, I'm a Taurus. That's just the way I work. So to let that go, and to come, and then it comes back to truth and honesty. I can say now, do you know what? I don't know, but I will find out for you.
Yeah, and it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, well, I had to learn that.
But it is. I mean, I'm a Virgo with a Taurine ascendant, so like I have to get it super right or else. But I had to learn it's actually better not to have all the answers, but to be in service and go, I'll find out. I don't have it all. And then you actually, in leadership, show other people you don't have to have all the answers. I'll get back to you about that. There's a level of care, and that is another good point of leadership.
And do you know the way that we work in our business together? I find it really interesting, and I hope that's putting the finger on you. Basically, the way I lead is the way I have been led. So and then obviously I put my personal experience and touch and ideas and whatever into it as well. And then it comes back to responsibility as well. And the same probably with you, the way you got introduced into this whole business is then what you give further. And yeah,
I sort of came in the back door and sort of caught up along the way. Yeah. But what I did every time for instance, I'd hand in some paperwork and and I'd think it's perfect, it's done, and they'll come back and it's like, no, here's something to do. Instead of making myself feel bad about it, it was like, well, that's a really good learning experience. I'll make sure this never happens again to somebody else. So leadership is also, for me, is about being okay to not always get it right, to always be in a process of learning and not be dictatorial about it. It's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
We're all on a journey.
I think that's one of the really important things, though, because I think in certain ways leadership for me still has a bad connotation to it, just from my old experiences. And it's like that. The leader is up here, but it's not how we work. We work like that.
Yeah.
And as a leader, we can only succeed if everyone we're working with succeeds, because it's an us, right? And the way, if we lift other people up, that lifts us up. And then, even though it's not higher or lower, but if we have certain knowledge, or if we have something that we can give to others which helps them, then we come onto a different level, and then they come onto and that's
yeah, it's a bit like climbing a mountain.
yeah.
The mountain feels like this at the start, and you take the first step and then give somebody else a hand up, and then you're both on the same level. And it's always that growth and becoming and something. It's not that you're not perfect already, but I know for me, and I don't know whether it's for you, that I can keep myself in a box
Oh, hell yeah.
of comfort. And when you're pushed, because even as a leader, you get pushed to move to the next level of leadership for you. It's like breaking out of the walls in a Japanese house that are just made of paper. They seem like they're very solid, but if you just, have a little bit of push, you can actually break right through them. And I see it a bit like that. Close it off, but moving through those level of leaderships is just becoming the higher aspect of you that you haven't been able to see yet. And it's when you turn around and look at the journey and you go, oh my God, wow, look who I've become because of that. To me, this whole journey, working with women, helping them to uncover their pure potential, so that they can create, impact in their life. It absolutely tickles me pink when I, for example, see you step up into somebody that I haven't seen before in the 5.5 years. I could see it was there, but you couldn't quite see it. And now that you're stepped into it and you're actually seeing, I'm loving to see where you go next. Any final words before we head off for the day? Because you and I can talk forever, I know.
I could talk forever too. I wasn't even on the finishing line yet.
Oh, okay. Well, have you got some? I hand you the platform. What would you like to say?
I don't want to drag it out too long, but what I wanted to say is, no, I almost lost my thought of train. But one of the things of not but well, one of the things in leadership as well is, and then I think it comes back to the whole personal growth and personal development. And we talked about this yesterday, not to assume what the people around you might do or might not do, and not to project your own thoughts and fears and whatever you have expectations onto other people, and just trust that it will be all right, because we're all there for a certain reason at a particular time. So we have our wires crossed, and maybe that's a good word for the end, but just trust and believe that it is all exactly the way it should be.
Perfect. Absolutely perfectly as it should be.
Exactly.
So I think that was a really good touch on leadership, and thank you very much, Andrea, for being here today, and for everybody that's watching the replay. Enjoy you stepping into your next level of leadership, and we'll be watching you.
Absolutely. And be there with you.
Yes, exactly. Bye for now.
Thanks. Bye.